Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about what makes a good DP a great DP, and that is communication. Who are you communicating with on set? Well, there's a couple of people you're going to be communicating with, in prep and on set. In prep, you're definitely going to be communicating with the director, with the first AD, with the producer, figuring out your schedule, figuring out the overall tone of the piece, figuring out the budget. In prep, you're also going to be talking with your keys, your department heads. That's the gaffer, the key grip, and the first AC. Your gaffer, at least for me, the gaffer is someone who I've got a really close relationship with. I probably spend the majority of my time in prep talking with my gaffer. They're one of my key collaborators. And we just talk about the overall approach that we're going to take for the lighting. We look at certain scenes in particular, if it's like a narrative piece or a commercial, what the client is wanting as far as overall mood and brightness and quality of light. So I talk with my gaffer about my intention for each shoot and what we're looking to achieve. I usually talk with both my gaffer and my key grip in terms of what kind of specialty equipment we might need, whether that's a dolly, a crane. I also talk with my first AC about camera builds, whether that's handheld or on a Steadicam or a gimbal, or if we're just on studio, what kind of gear we're going to need, as well as what they might need for the camera department to help it run smoothly. If they need a second and a loader, or if they can get by with just a second. One of the departments that I think gets kind of overlooked is the art department. They are responsible for what is going on the screen. They're responsible for the overall look of the locations you're going to be in. So, building a good relationship and rapport with your production designer is really crucial. They can really help save a location and turn it from something that's just okay to something that's great. So, having good communication with them as far as, what kind of shears we might want for the bedrooms or the living room or the windows that we're going to be shooting out of, what kind of wallpaper options there might be if there's the potential to paint the walls at a location, what kind of options might fit the story best, or, if it's a commercial, especially what might fit the brand the best. Certain clients will have brand coloring that they like to have throughout their ad. So that's something that the production designer is in charge of. And so knowing, what quality of paint they're going to be using, whether it's a matte or a reflective paint, that makes a huge difference in terms of trying to fight reflections of lighting, or, embrace that. So there's just a lot of different conversations you can have in prep with your production designer as well. Additionally, the wardrobe department is a department that I don't think gets talked about as much in terms of cinematography, but they make a huge difference as well. Knowing what the actors are going to be wearing and how that is going to play on camera. I've definitely had some shoots where the wardrobe department, wasn't in communication with the camera department, and the wardrobe they picked out was full of these very tight patterned shirts that caused moire. And so they were there on set, like, why is this looking so bad on camera? It's because the shirt pattern is too tight. So we had to get a couple of different options for wardrobe. So let's talk about some communication tools that I use regularly. Of course, there's the obvious phone call, email, text message. For me, as far as communicating with my keys, like my key grip, gaffer, and first AC, in prep, I will, of course, use Satellite to do 3D mockups. I'll also use Shot Designer to do blocking mockups. So we can take a look at roughly what the blocking will be for a certain scene. That will help my gaffer determine where lights need to go, and the key grip determine where any sort of support might need to go, or if there are stairs or windows or doorways that we're going to need to be, avoiding or being aware of. That's something that those blocking overheads can help with. The other thing is, having headsets on set, I think, is really valuable. Additionally, with walkie talkies, typically the production will pass out walkie talkies to your department heads, and they will talk with their crew over the walkie talkies. For me, I like to communicate with my keys on headsets. I just have a set of four, so I could talk with only my main three key crew members. So that's the grip department, electric department, and camera department. So I use headsets to talk with them on set, and that makes a huge difference in my workflow. Being able to just quickly talk to everybody and make sure that everyone's on the same page. And if I call out something for the gaffer, the key grip is aware of what stand they might need to bring along with that, or what sort of fusion frames they need to bring out. that sort of thing. And additionally, the first AC also is on the headsets as well, as far as, knowing where the camera placement needs to be, what kind of lenses we're going to go on, and what kind of support might be needed for the camera at that time. So those headsets are a huge, have really sped up my workflow significantly. As opposed to being on a walkie where you've got to change channels and you go to channel 8, you go to talk to the grips, channel 7, you talk to the electrics, and channel 6, you talk to the camera department, and you're switching and you can't see the dial. It's a whole thing. So, having the headsets be able to really quickly get in touch with your keys in an instant is just fantastic. And doing it hands-free is really helpful as well. You can do that while you're operating the camera and not having to fuss with your walkie mic. Some tips for communication I have, are definitely flagging things that come up as early as possible, whether that's an issue with the script, we know with the director, and say, hey, look, this scene, it didn't make sense to me. Is there a reason why this character does this at this moment? That happened in a project I just shot, a short film. There was a character choice in the script that I didn't think quite made sense as far as the timing went by, and I brought that up, as soon as I read the draft of the script with the director and had some time to go through it. I said, I don't think that this, moment makes sense to do right here in the script. Maybe it can be a little bit later in the scene, and that would, make sense more from a story perspective. And they took that feedback and ran with it. And, so flagging that early on was really helpful, I think, and will ultimately have made a better piece. Um, Additionally, if you see something on set where, you know, you've done a take and everyone's happy and everyone's celebrating, oh, it's fantastic. And then you say, you know what, that take actually wasn't good for me. I need to go again. Trying to keep those things really concise, I think, is really important. Not saying, I need to go again. It was really good up until this point, and then we saw the boom, and then after that, I took 2 steps to the right, and just over explaining it overcomplicates things. So I think the quicker and more concise you can be with your corrections, hey, we need to go again. I saw the boom. That's all they need to know. And then you can move on and get back into the shot and do another take quickly, because time is, of the essence on set. Another thing I really like to do is share dailies stills with my keys from the previous day's shoot. So if it's a multi-day thing, I'll, pull screen grabs or have the DIT pull screen grabs for me from different scenes, just so everyone can kind of get a sense of how things are looking. And it gives people, I think, motivation to have seen, oh, this is how it kind of turned out from that first day. Here's areas I can improve. Here's areas where I think we did really well. Being able to share those screen grabs with your keys, I think, is super important. And it just keeps gives them some motivation and keeps the morale high. Being able to see what they're doing and see that the hours they're putting in and the hard work they're putting in is paying off. I think, in that next day, I think is really helpful, and it just inspires my crew. That's the feedback I've gotten, is it inspires my crew to, work a little harder the next day, or make corrections or see what was working and what wasn't. And being able to see that right away is fantastic. Dailies have definitely kind of gone by the wayside on so many of these shoots because they're so fast and such fast turnaround. But I think it's still really important to be able to share those dailies with your crew, when you can. All right, and that does it for this video, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. If you have any tips for communication that you've found are really helpful on set, make sure you leave them in the comments below. I'd love to get the dialogue started to see what other tips might be out there that I've overlooked or other people might find useful. So make sure you drop a comment with those. Like the video if you learned something, and I will see you guys in the next one. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with more videos coming soon. See you later.